What's up, everyone? We have some more exciting things to talk about for the stock market. We actually have some pretty big things going on behind the scenes. We do have some pretty important news to talk about. Now, what's crazy is Tesla, of all stocks, was actually in the green today. Surprise, surprise. It closed 3.3% higher. But Tom, there was some absolutely nasty selling pressure with Apple, like the market leader. So we have a lot of exciting things to talk about today. Make sure to stick with us towards the end. We're also going to go over a big money hedge fund trade for the day. But let's get right into today's episode.
100%, Mike. It was a very bloody day. And looking at that heat map, we saw selling all across the board. We saw the big tech stocks down. Banks were semi-even, actually. Some banks ended up in the green. Tesla was green, but pretty much everything else was down. Even the stocks like Caterpillar, John Deere, General Electric were down. The oil stocks were down. Amazon and retail stocks were down. So it was a very brutal day in the market. Like you said, Mike, Apple, Microsoft, Netflix, Disney, you name it. If it was a big tech stock, it was probably down besides Tesla. That was the only small positive I actually saw today. But Mike, one big thing that we've been talking a lot about lately has been these airline stocks. And we can see that Southwest Airlines continued down once again today, falling pretty much from open around 33.30 all the way down to lows at 32.22 today. Nothing too crazy, but I'm sure those options ended up doing quite well. It was down 5% on the stock, and we are continuing to see them cancel even more flights. Apparently, they canceled 60% of their schedule for Thursday already, which is insane. And it scrubbed less than 1% of their schedule for Friday, but we'll have to see what happens because maybe they'll even cancel more tomorrow for Friday, but not looking good for these airlines, Mike. I know that they took scrutiny from the Biden administration yesterday. It looks like the transportation secretary is starting to step in here as well. So not good for these airlines, but I will say the other ones like Delta are starting to fall down more too.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So Tom, I have to ask you again. So yesterday you just sniped an NVIDIA call out to the downside, and you did a pretty damn good job again today. But today it was with AMD. So if we look in the Discord, before the market even opened, Tom gave us another great play. So Tom, tell us about it. Tell us about the whole setup you were watching with AMD and how it ended up working out.
Yeah, so AMD was pretty crazy today. I will say it was a little bit shaky at open. We saw a lot of volatility, but I pretty much was looking for it to fall under 62.65 before looking for a scalp to the downside. Or if we popped above 63.10, I might eye up some calls there. And if we look at AMD stock here today and we go to the 1 minute and we see it right at market open, you can see how AMD had a big jump all over the place. So we saw a lot of volatility come in. Honestly, I didn't even look at AMD too much right there with that volatility just because it was so volatile. You're seeing big candles in both directions. So I didn't really trade it too much there. But as we started to move forward, I started to really watch AMD. And once we started to see it break below that big support to the downside around 62.65 again, I saw a pretty good opportunity, and I kind of alerted it out in the Discord, and a couple guys ended up banking off of it. So pretty good play on AMD there. It was pretty shaky at open. You always have to be careful of that volatility at open. Sometimes it can be insane, but for the most part, it picked a good direction and ended up falling down in a good way. So good play with AMD there, Mike. I know that play with NVIDIA yesterday was awesome, and it's good to see that AMD ended up working out too. But like I said, it was a little shaky at open, so it did take some skill and some patience, to kind of wait for that big break.
There we go. Awesome job, Tom. If you guys want to follow along more in the Discord, check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. But Tom, given that the market has been so crazy, not only over the past year, but over the past week especially, when we have such market-moving tech stocks like Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon breaking lows, that has a direct negative impact on the S&P 500 overall. So looking at the SPY for the end of 2022, the next 2 days, what are like the key levels that you have on your watch list?
Yeah, so we are getting really close, guys, to 374 and 375. And 375 has been a huge level over the past couple weeks. You can see that actually last Thursday, we touched right on 375, had some candles kind of extending to the downside there. So I will be keeping an eye on 375, especially for the next couple days here as we close out the year. Now, if we go to more of like a longer term daily chart, you can see that the SPY is still up quite a bit year over year, especially over the past 3 to 5 years. So I would not be surprised if we ended up breaking that support a little bit. There is a bigger support down here around 362 and 360, which I will be keeping an eye on if we do end up falling down maybe as the beginning of the year goes on. But it's not looking good, Mike. Like we're seeing the SPY fall off here, running down to this big support at 375. And if we break below there, you can kind of see here on the daily chart that there really isn't really too many levels until we get back to like 368. So I feel like that we could see a pretty decent move coming pretty soon. And especially since we're seeing these big tech stocks like Apple, Microsoft, and stocks like that start to make huge moves as well. I got to say, I'm kind of expecting it to drag the SPY down.
Yeah, so many stocks are at their low of the entire year right now, and there's just a lot of selling pressure overall. And that goes the same whether we're looking at big market-moving tech stocks or even some crazy meme stocks like AMC. I know there was some news with AMC recently. What's going on?
Yeah, they had some news actually recently of a reverse split, and they were going to try to raise up some capital. So looking at the news here, Mike, I did see that AMC had a 52-week low, hitting their lows of the year. Now, this is CNBC's words, not mine. They said that gimmicks failed to win over investors. There's been a lot of stuff that they've been trying to do to obviously make more money in the shorter term. They proposed the 10-to-1 stock split. The CEO he announced a pay freeze for himself. And there's been a whole bunch of stuff that they've been trying to do. Like we can see here, they bought some stakes in a tiny gold miner apparently as well. And they did all this stuff to try to raise capital with their ape stock or the preferred equity units. And they've also just been doing a whole bunch of stuff, as you can see here, to try and raise money. I know that this article goes way more in depth in it on CNBC if you guys want to check it out. They even talked about buying up like a small popcorn business and stuff like that. So kind of interesting stuff, but it's not helping their stock, Mike. And looking at the daily chart here, this is brutal. Like I said, 52-week lows, and their preferred equity units, APE, actually popped up last week with that reverse split news, but man, it tanked down today 24%.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride for 2022. But Tom, now I want to start talking about some plays for tomorrow. One stock that I'm watching pretty closely is JP Morgan. Just like you said a couple minutes ago, these bank stocks have been holding up better than a lot of other areas of the market. And JP Morgan actually finished in the green today. So that's awesome to see. But looking at JP Morgan for tomorrow, I'm definitely eyeing it for some potential upside price action. Obviously, if the market is up too, that can definitely help out. But JP Morgan is definitely on my watch list to the upside tomorrow.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice. We've had a few green days in a row now, got a nice extension up there. And I was happy to see that we broke above that like 133 level on JP Morgan, but we did end up pulling back below it. So maybe tomorrow we can get back up above there and start to fly back to the upside with these banks. Like you said, if the market pops, JP Morgan should look to do pretty well also. Another one I'm looking at, Mike, is going to be JD or these China stocks. And I will say, unfortunately, guys, these China stocks took a big dip today. JD was down 4.5%. BABA ended up falling down 2.96%. But for the most part, JD, big move down. If they ended up falling below $55 even tomorrow, I will look for a bigger move down. Definitely watch them in pre-market. I know that they usually get some pretty big jumps. Now, there was some bad China news today, okay? It looks like that the U.S. will require airline passengers from China to test negative for COVID once again. So looks like they're kind of ramping up their, I guess you could say their, what would you call this, Mike? Control, I guess, over the virus, or ramping up more restrictions, I guess, to people traveling from China. So not good for China stocks. Watch for those potential drops down. And looking at that daily chart, Mike, China stocks have actually been running up quite a bit lately. So I wouldn't be surprised if they fell off just in the sake of price action.
All right, we will see. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is actually the big, I guess you could say the big dog, Apple. It's tanking down in a major way. It made a brand new low for this year today. And there's just a lot of like powerful bearish momentum right now for it. So I don't have a specific level in mind for Apple, but just this type of movement and momentum is pretty strong with it right now. So tomorrow morning, if we see something similar to the price action that we saw today, I'm definitely looking at it for puts or other bearish plays.
Yeah, me too, Mike. This is a play that I really like to the downside. I think that it's a play that, Apple over the long term is a great stock. Like we love Apple, one of the best stocks in the market, like you said, the big dog. And it looks like right now, obviously, the big dog is just cooling off a little bit. You can see in 2020, Apple exploded up so much, it flew up well over 100%. I mean, almost 200% from $60 there in 2020. So pretty huge moves to the upside. And, it's just looks like it's kind of consolidating now, maybe falling back down towards support. So I'll be watching it for some moves as well. I think catching momentum on Apple is a really smart way to go here for the next couple months. I think it could end up being a fun one to trade. But I know you talked about the big dog Apple. I'm going to talk about the big dog Amazon now as well. Very similar setups. Both of these stocks are making lows of the year. You can see Amazon on the daily chart. They're actually down to their COVID lows right now. Well, actually nearing the COVID lows, kind of down to that COVID dip there, just post-COVID, but getting very close to the COVID low, and they're close to that $80 support. So I'll be keeping my eyes on this one. It's also been making new lows, and just another big tech stock selling off. And what I really like about these stocks selling off, Mike, is just the chances to catch some nice intraday scalps with them. Like you don't have to buy puts and hold these forever. Just, if you see some big breaks, usually these things have been running down a lot lately. So you can usually catch some good moves.
Yeah, so the low for Amazon during COVID, at least on the daily chart, is $81 a share. Right now, Amazon's trading for like around $82 per share. It's crazy to think that you could have almost caught the exact bottom for Amazon back in 2020, and right now you'd be at a break even, and during that time frame, Amazon shares went as high as like almost $200 a share. So it's just like, it's been such a crazy past 2 years. 2023 is definitely to be exciting.
Yeah, that's insane. From that $81 low to the high, it was up around like 130%, guys. I mean, that is an insane jump, and now it's all the way back down. So that is insane to think about, Mike. It's crazy how time flies, isn't it? I will say the past 2 years have been going by quite quickly, probably just because of all the news and the drama going on with the market. It kind of makes time go by quicker, but man, these stocks are really starting to fall down here. And I know we keep talking about that SPY, but it's getting really worrisome here, Mike. Like I will say, I feel like there's a lot of fear creeping in.
Yep. All right. Well, speaking of fear, we actually have a couple solid momentum plays for tomorrow to the downside. So with the first one, we have LUV, or Southwest Airlines.
Yeah, Southwest, big drop today. If they can fall below $32 even, I will look for a push lower. And yeah, keep in mind, they've had that bad news lately, and it's not been going well for them.
All right, with the next one, we have Google, also to the downside.
Google, GOOGL. Yeah, let's go ahead and make Google break down below 85.80. That's a pretty big level there. I like this one a lot. Just like Amazon and Apple, it's another one of those big tech stocks that are falling down.
All right, and with the last one, we have DraftKings, but to the upside.
DKNG, was actually nice to see them go green today for once with Tesla. Actually, kind of interesting there, but go ahead and make them break out above $11.11. One of my favorite numbers.
There we go. All right. So for tomorrow, we are watching DraftKings for potential day trade to the upside, only if it breaks above the level Tom listed. And then we are watching Google and Southwest Airlines for potential day trades to the downside tomorrow, only if they break below the levels Tom listed. But since we're talking about DraftKings, we definitely want to highlight the hybrid bot play of the day. So looking at the Discord chat, we can see the hybrid bot called out DraftKings call options at $47 each, and they popped all the way up to $68 each. within just a couple hours. If you want hybrid bot plays every single day, definitely check out that first link in the description, in the comments down below. Of course, not every single play wins. No strategy, no software can win every single time, but overall, the bot does an absolutely amazing job. You'll also get access to multi-million-dollar hedge fund plays every single day, other smart money trades to follow, a bunch of other custom tools you won't find anywhere else. And in just around a week, we have a brand new tool that is really, really awesome that's going to release to everyone in the Discord. So it's going to be super exciting. Definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below to join in on all this. It's going to be an awesome 2023. Definitely make sure to check it out. But Tom, it is now time for the big money trade of the day. We are looking at $328,000 into S. So we don't talk about this stock too often, but S is a cybersecurity company. The stock got beaten down a ton this year, just like almost all other stocks, to be honest. Looking at S, it's been a wild ride. Just like I said, the stock's around $13 a share, and over the past year, it has highs close to $80 a share. We saw $328,000 go into the 5 strike call options for January 20th of 2023. So basically, for those of you who don't trade options, this is a trade where the smart money wants S to go as high as possible. The higher S goes, the more money that they would make. So this is a bullish trade, obviously. It's like a high risk, high reward setup, just given the overall market and given how quickly this stock has been selling off.
Yeah, that has been a huge sell-off here, but I will say, this support down here at the bottom, really close to 13, is starting to look pretty attractive. The stock is starting to bounce off this. We've been getting a lot of doji candles on the daily here, showing that there's been a lot of, buyers coming in at this lower level. So kind of interesting, it got a bit of a pop up today. I will definitely be keeping this one on the radar. It's not the most money we've seen in a play, being only 328,000, but with it being a smaller stock, I think it's definitely a respectable one. And that $13 support looks pretty good. So I'll be watching it. If it starts to break out, it might not be a bad one to follow, especially considering it's a cybersecurity company. I wouldn't think that it necessarily follows the SPY. And you can tell this year it's definitely followed the SPY down, but man, it's followed it down a lot more than most stocks have. Wow.
Yep, it's been a wild, wild ride. So Tom, for tomorrow, we have a lot of stocks moving in big ways, especially like Apple and Google and Amazon. Do you have any other last things to cover before we end the video?
Yeah, we didn't really talk too much about the economic calendar or anything like that yet. There's not really too much left here. We had some pending home sales come out this morning. It didn't really impact the market much at all. I didn't really see too much news going on there. Next week, though, we do have the FOMC minutes meeting on Wednesday, so be ready for that next week. But for right now, Mike, it looks like there's not too much left on the horizon. But what I really like right now are plays to the downside. And with the SPY starting to point down a little bit more, I think it's going to be a good time to start watching the SQQQ again and SPXS. These stocks have been starting to fly up in a huge way. Like, look at SQQQ. It pretty much popped up from 50 all the way up to $58 in like 4 trading days. That's pretty good here, especially when you look at the daily chart. It has these big peaks and valleys. It goes down, up, down, up, down. Now it's on a huge uptrend. And if that SPY breaks that support here, man, SQQQ and SPXS will probably start to fly.
All righty, good stuff. Also, we want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Nice, in the StockedUp Discord chat. You've been in the chat for a couple weeks now, and you've been asking some good questions. So huge shout out to Nice in the StockedUp Discord. Besides that, make sure to check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. We have a lot of awesome custom tools that you won't find anywhere else. It's awesome for short-term trading, and we have some very, very, very cool new features that are going to be added in a week. So definitely make sure to join up. We have a lot of great things going on. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's end the final 2 trading days of 2022 on a good note.